Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we are going to be talking a little bit more about output, input, scenarios, and choice. Let's start from the end of the story. Let's talk about making a choice. What is this all about? What is it that leads us to make choices? And how do we make choices? Making a choice and being confident about making a choice requires two things. It requires having some kind of aim, having a goal, knowing what it is that we want to achieve, and then looking at the various paths in order to achieve that goal. All right, so we start with, how can I feel confident that we've made the right choice? And it moves back to this idea of, to be confident that I made the right choice, I need to know what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And then I need to see how the plan can help us work toward that eventual goal. So then we're talking about scenarios. Scenarios comes before choice. Now, what about scenarios? What are these scenarios? Where do these scenarios come from? Output, input. So the scenarios comes from the input. As you know from the 2 videos ago, we were talking about the difference between 0 to 1 and 1 to many. In the case of 0 to 1, the input is going to be based on inputs that other businesses have put into their processes in order to achieve the same aim. And if it's 1 to many, then we're looking at what are the current processes that are leading to the what? The output. So now we're at the first step. Output comes from our input. If we want to change our output, then we need to change our input. How do we change our input? We have to come up with scenarios. When we're confident with 1 or 2 of the scenarios, we can start testing it after we make a choice to do so. If we go back to the last video, one of the problems I was having with the marketing manager was this idea of, like, what are we trying to achieve? What is our aim? What is our process? What's going on? Is it just me talking to myself about all these ideas, or am I seeing improvement in the marketing manager? Am I seeing improvement in myself? I was mentioning that probably we don't need to start with output, because I was thinking about myself. I have a lot of, well, the question is, how do we break this down? How do we know how to look at performance? And there are basically 2 different ways to look at performance. We have the performance of people, and then we have the performance of our systems. If we look at the performance of the people, there are 2 basic elements. This comes from the State Drive checklist in the book, Create Crucial Insight. We have the level of effort, and we have the level of success. What is it that I'm looking for when I'm having a meeting with a marketing manager? One of the things is, how much time and energy and effort am I putting into our marketing efforts? And the second is, what is my skill level regarding our marketing efforts? And why is it that I would hire a specialist in the marketing area? The reason is because I want to increase my skill level, and in the case where I delegate some responsibilities to someone else, I want to increase my level of effort. By having someone else that can help me as a specialist, then we can increase my level of effort. We can also increase my level of skill. Therefore, we can get better results. All right, so my general output level can be increased as I work with a marketing specialist. The other element about output is related to systems and how do we create processes. And then once we created a process, then how is it that we can over time optimize and then eventually automate those processes? And this is another reason that I'm going to be working with a marketing specialist, is because they would have some special knowledge when it comes to how do we develop marketing processes, and also how do we optimize those processes, and eventually how do we best automate those processes. If we put those 2 together, you can see that if we're able to create processes, then it means that I can achieve the same or higher level of success with less effort. And if we can optimize and then automate those processes, we can likewise increase our level of success while at the same time reducing our level of effort, which means freeing up time. And if we're able to free up time while at the same time achieving the same outcome, well, what a great place that would be. All right, so that's output. Now we go from output to input. So now we're into the input section. And this is what I hinted at in the last video, was that in order to achieve those outputs, all right, first we have to define them. What are specifically the outputs that you want? Well, as I said, I want to have some processes. I want to have optimized processes, and I want to have automated processes by somebody who has a higher level of skill than me, in order that I can improve my output, and over time I can reduce my level of effort and also achieve the same level of success. That's like kind of abstract. Like, how do you say that to a marketing manager? Hey, marketing manager. So basically what I want is over time, I want to decrease my level of effort by implementing processes and then optimizing processes and then automating processes so that I can increase my level of skill and over time reduce my level of effort, therefore freeing up time. I mean, like, fundamentally, that's what I want. But can you describe that again, but now as an input? All right, so as an input, remember there are 4 lenses that are connected with input. And the first lens was this, remember we were talking about synergies? Now, synergies, it's interesting because it's very similar to the business model canvas. It talks about that one side of the business model canvas where we have the inputs to production. And then in the middle, we have the actual product. And then on the other side, we have the way that we connect with our customers. Those are the fundamental relationships. We have our providers, we have our peers, and then we have our customers. It doesn't matter if we're talking about state synergies or if we're talking about the business model canvas. At some point, we have to go deeper. We have to define more clearly the exact goal and the exact output that we are trying to get from the input. And I feel like the first place to start is this area of, well, what is the goal that we're trying to achieve? And then after we've achieved that goal, then how can we reuse the output? And also, how can we reuse the inputs? How can we reuse the processes? How can we reuse all of the things which are connected with this endeavor in order that we can, it's like a cycle, right? We're doing the same activities over and over again, but we're trying to have some small improvement along the way. So the first place that we start is at the executive level. And we need to decide between me as the business owner and as the managing director, and then as also with the marketing manager, we need to define some specific things that we want to achieve. Once we've defined the things that we want to achieve, then we can move into the next category, which is scenarios. And we need to define what's the difference between like standard practices, things that everybody's doing, things which obviously we should be doing, things which are no-brainers, and then the techniques which are going to actually put us ahead, the little cheat codes, the specialized information, the things that are going to put us in a position where we can compete more powerfully with our competitors. So that's what we're going to do today.